In the elder days of the realm, when the mists of Avalon yet clung to the rolling hills and the great King Arthur held court at Camelot, there was whispered a prophecy among the druids and the wise. It was said that a knight would come, pure of heart and steadfast in spirit, whose destiny was to seek the Holy Grail, the sacred chalice of the Lord. This knight would be known as the most virtuous of all, and his name would be Galahad. Chapter 1. The Prophesied Arrival. The world was young, the mountains green. No stain yet on the moon was seen. No words were laid on stream or stone, when Galahad to Camelot was known. In the time of Arthur's reign, the Round Table was not only a symbol of equality and justice, but also a gathering of the most valiant knights the world had ever seen. Yet, even among these paragons of chivalry, there was a seat that remained empty. It was the Siege Perilous, a chair that would accept no knight but the one destined to find the Grail. Many had tried to claim it, but all had met with misfortune, for it was fated for another. The air was crisp with the promise of spring when a stranger approached the gates of Camelot. He rode a white steed, and his armor shone like the sun riding high above the morning mists. The stranger was but a youth, yet his eyes held the depth of one who has seen the turning of ages and the sorrow of the world. His presence commanded the attention of all, and as he dismounted, the very stones of Camelot seemed to sing with an ancient recognition. The knights gathered in the great hall, their murmurs like the rustling of leaves in an enchanted forest. King Arthur himself rose to greet the newcomer, his countenance both stern and welcoming. "I am Galahad," the young knight proclaimed, his voice clear and resonant, "son of Lancelot and Elaine, and I have come to claim my place at the Round Table." A hush fell upon the court as Galahad approached the Siege Perilous. The air was thick with anticipation, for the prophecy was known to all, and its fulfillment was at hand. With a grace that belied his years, Galahad seated himself upon the chair, and lo! It embraced him, confirming his right to sit among the greatest knights of the realm. The court erupted in cheers and fanfare, for the coming of Galahad was a sign of hope, a herald of quests yet to come and victories yet to be won. Merlin, the wise and enigmatic, watched from the shadows, a knowing smile playing upon his lips. For the wheels of fate had turned, and the quest for the Holy Grail was set to begin. Thus, the prophesied arrival of Sir Galahad marked a new chapter in the tales of Camelot, a chapter that would be wrought with peril, wonder, and the undying light of the Grail. And so the story unfolds, as the bravest of knights sets forth on a journey that would lead him through the very fabric of legend and into the annals of time. Chapter 2. The Grail Quest begins. The world was grey, the mountains old, the forge's fire ashen cold. No harp was rung, no hammer fell, the day Sir Galahad bade farewell. With the dawn came a silence to Camelot, a stillness as if the earth itself held its breath. The knights of the Round Table stood arrayed in their gleaming mail, each man's heart alight with a fire kindled by the arrival of Galahad. For with him came the promise of the Grail, a quest that would test their mettle and their spirits. King Arthur, with eyes that mirrored the stormy skies above, addressed his court. "The time has come," he began, his voice carrying the weight of destiny, "for the noblest of pursuits. The Holy Grail, the cup of Christ our Savior, calls to us. It is not a quest for the faint of heart, nor for those who seek glory for glory's sake. It is a pilgrimage of the soul, a journey that will lead through shadow and light." Sir Galahad stood, his countenance serene, a beacon amidst the sea of anticipation. "I vow to seek the Grail," he declared, "not for my own salvation, but for the good of all. And though I may walk through valleys dark and traverse paths untrodden, my purpose shall not waver." One by one, the knights of the Round Table rose to join Galahad's oath, their voices a chorus of resolve. Sir Gawain, with his lion's courage, Sir Percival, whose faith was as a shield, Sir Bors, steadfast and true, all pledged to seek the Grail, though the path might lead to the very gates of death. Merlin, the keeper of ancient lore, stepped forth, his eyes aglow with otherworldly light. "The Grail is veiled in mystery," he intoned, "and its secrets are not easily unveiled. You must be prepared to face trials of the body and the spirit, for only the purest of heart may gaze upon the sacred chalice." The knights gathered their arms, and the air thrummed with the sound of steel and the whisper of prayers. They mounted their steeds, a cavalcade of hope, and with banners unfurled, they rode forth from Camelot. The people lined the streets, their cheers a mingling of joy and sorrow, for they knew that some who sought the Grail would not return. Through the mists they rode, the knights of the quest, into a world that seemed to shift and change before their very eyes. The forests grew deeper, the mountains more forbidding, and the rivers sang of ancient sorrows. Each knight was to face his own path, his own challenges, for the Grail called to each in a different voice. Sir Galahad, with the light of the Grail already burning in his breast, led the way. His path was a lonely one, for he sought not only the Grail, but also the understanding of his own soul. He journeyed through lands uncharted, where the stars shone with strange constellations, and the moon bathed the world in a silver glow. And so the Grail quest began, a tale of valor and sacrifice, of knights who would become legends, and of a chalice that held the divine. The road ahead was fraught with enchantments and perils, but the light of the Grail was a steadfast star, guiding Sir Galahad and his companions through the tapestry of fate toward their ultimate destiny. Chapter 3: Temptation and Trial. The world was old, the twilight near, the stars in silent vigil clear. No laughter rang, no feasts were spread. The knight Sir Galahad onward led. As the quest for the Holy Grail carried the knights across the realms of men and into the realms of myth, Sir Galahad, the purest of them all, found himself wandering into a land that seemed untouched by time. The trees whispered secrets of the ancient world, and the air shimmered with enchantment. It was here that the first of many trials would befall him, a test not of strength, but of heart and soul. The moon hung like a silver pendant in the sky, casting its ethereal light upon a clearing where stood a castle, resplendent and seemingly wrought from the very dreams of man. Its spires reached towards the heavens, and its walls glowed with an inner light. Sir Galahad, drawn by a force he could not name, approached the gates, which opened as if by some unseen hand. Within the castle's embrace, he found a court that was a mirror of Camelot, yet steeped in a tranquility that bordered on the surreal. The air was filled with the sweet strains of a lute, and the scent of roses hung heavy. There, upon a throne of ivory and gold, sat a lady of such beauty that it seemed she could command the stars themselves. Her eyes held the promise of eternal bliss, and her voice, when she spoke, was the melody of a gentle stream. "Welcome, brave Sir Galahad," she said, her words a caress. "You have journeyed far, and the roads ahead are fraught with peril. Rest here a while, and let your burdens be forgotten." The lady's offer was a balm to Galahad's weary spirit, and for a moment, he was tempted to lay down his arms and surrender to the peace that the castle offered. But the light of the Grail within him flickered, a silent reminder of his sacred vow. With a strength that came not from his limbs but from his unwavering purpose, he declined the lady's kindness. "I thank you, noble lady, for your gracious hospitality," he replied, his voice steady. "But I must not tarry, for my quest allows for no respite. The Grail calls, and I must answer." The lady's smile did not wane, but in her eyes, there flickered a shadow of something ancient and knowing. "Very well, Sir Knight," she said. "But know this, the path you choose is lined with shadows, and not all trials are as gentle as the one you face now." With a heart both heavy and light, Sir Galahad took his leave of the enchanted castle, stepping once more into the embrace of the wild. The castle faded behind him, as if it were but a mirage, a dream of temptation to test his resolve. The trials that followed were many and varied. Sir Galahad faced beasts of legend, whose roars shook the very earth, and specters that whispered doubts into the night. He traversed landscapes that seemed born of chaos, where the ground shifted beneath his feet, and the sky raged with storms of fire. Yet through each trial, Sir Galahad's spirit shone ever brighter, a star against the gathering dark. His sword was swift and true, but it was his purity of heart that proved his greatest weapon. For each monster he vanquished, each illusion he dispelled, was a reflection of the inner demons that he overcame. And so Sir Galahad journeyed on, his armor dented and his body weary, but his soul unblemished. The Grail's call was ever in his ears, a siren song that led him through the labyrinth of his own trials, ever onward, ever seeking the light that would illuminate the world. Temptation and trial marked the path of the Grail Knight, but his will was as iron, and his heart as true as the legends foretold. The quest was far from over, and greater challenges lay ahead, but Sir Galahad's resolve was unshaken. For he was the chosen, the beacon of hope in a world that teetered on the brink of shadow, and his tale was one that would be sung for ages to come. Beneath the vault of heaven, where the stars keep their ancient watch, a hush fell upon the world, as if creation itself awaited the turning of a page in the great book of time. Sir Galahad, his armor alight with the scars of countless trials, stood upon the threshold of destiny. Before him lay a chalice, aglow with an otherworldly light, cradled within the hands of a figure both regal and divine. The air trembled with power as the figure spoke. "Behold, Sir Galahad, the Holy Grail, the cup of Christ, the wellspring of grace." And in that moment, the knight understood the journey's end was but the beginning. For the Grail was not merely an object to be won, but a revelation of the divine, a testament to the purity and the strength of the human spirit. Sir Galahad reached forth, his hand guided by a force greater than himself, and as his fingers brushed the sacred vessel, a light suffused the chamber, banishing shadow and doubt. The Grail's radiance poured into him, and he was transformed, not by might, but by the clarity of his purpose, the depth of his faith. And in that instant, the world was remade. The Grail's revelation was a beacon that pierced the veil of darkness, a promise of hope and renewal. Sir Galahad, the Grail Knight, had fulfilled the prophecy, his name forever etched in the annals of legend, a symbol of the quest for truth and the eternal struggle against the night. The Grail's light would endure, a star in the firmament of mankind's greatest tales, whispered in awe through the ages.